had some really funny moments with my boys yesterday. I have 5 boys and 1 girl. And my 13-year-old didn't have school, so I was like, great, I'm going to put him to work, give him some tasks. And especially because he wanted to have some video game time, I said, okay, but you're going to have to get these jobs done. And he was willing to do that. One of the jobs was to move a pile of cut lengths of a tree branch, some branches that we'd had cut down last week. We had a tree come down, and so anyway, so tree service was out cutting up that tree and also some other limbs that I needed to take down. And so the tree service had left a pile of lengths of limbs and tree trunk and whatever. Just kind of, he said, I think these could be good for firewood because we have a firewood pile. And I said, sure, great. But then I thought, if I leave them in the front yard, they're going to get taken. People think you're just getting rid of it. It's up for grabs and they just help themselves if it's in the front yard. And so I said to my 13-year-old, okay, so one of your jobs is going to be to take these pieces of these logs, we'll call them logs, and put them in the backyard at the woodshed. And so he's like, all right. So he goes out. After a while, he comes back in and he's like, Mom, this is a big pile. There's a lot there. I think I'm going to need some help. And I was like, okay, sounds good. And I didn't move. I was doing some lesson planning. And so I was at my computer and I was like, all right. And he just kind of stood there and he went back out and I could hear him dropping stuff. So I hear this big boom and so like I better go check and see how things are going. And I came outside and one of those sections I didn't realize was like a foot thick and you know 2 feet long, or I don't know, yeah, probably about 2 feet. So really heavy. If you haven't tried to move wood before, it's heavy. Trees are very heavy. And he dropped it in the driveway. Thankfully didn't crack the driveway. But he was like, yeah, that one's so heavy. I couldn't carry it any further. I was like, just roll it, roll it across the yard. Anyhow, so I went and I grabbed a couple, I moved a few myself and then kind of left him to it. And eventually he came inside. He was like, oh, yeah, look at the scrapes on my arms. And yeah, that was hard. It's like, man, you're incredible. I'm making a man out of you. I love to play around with my kids. And so he was just kind of like, yeah, that was hard work. I was like, good job. You're tough. You're such a man now. Um, and and then later on that night, my 8-year-old son, I called him to come help me with the dishes. Our dishwasher isn't working, and so we've been having to hand wash everything. And so I'm just scrubbing as fast as I can with the soapy sponge and hot water. And so I was like, all right, you're going to have to help me rinse. He's helped me a couple times and he's good at it. So I've been teaching him, like, make sure all the soap is off. And so he's there and he's keeping up with me, and I'd get something all soapy and he'd rinse it and put it in the drying sink. And so we're just kind of going, and then I started going a little bit faster. And so now there's 4 or 5 dishes in the sink and he's like, wait, I can't go that fast. And he's trying to keep up and he was getting discouraged. He's like, my arms hurt. This is hard. My arms hurt. And I was like, great, keep going. Just do one at a time. You don't need to worry. I can go as fast as I want, and you just pick one thing up and keep going. But my arms are tired. And anyway, so eventually we got finished, and he just jumped up and ran off and didn't talk about his arms hurting anymore. He had plenty of energy to run and play and jump on the couch, which he's not supposed to do, and mess around and wrestle with his other brother. And so it was really funny to have these two experiences yesterday. And again, to my youngest, I said, I'm making a man out of you. Look how you can work, and it's hard, but you keep on going. Look at you. You're so strong. And so that's why I want to talk today about letting your kids struggle. What can be a result, a benefit from letting your child struggle? Because if we as parents give in, they start complaining and moaning and groaning. It's tiresome on us, right? It's tiring. We don't want to hear that over and over for extended periods of time. But if we give in, if we give in to coddling or comforting their struggle and turning it off and letting them go and, oh, don't worry about the wood, I'll get it, I'll take care of it, that's a big pile, there are more pieces in there than I thought, or yeah, this is a big, it was a big stack of dishes. I'm like, yeah, you're 8, you shouldn't have to do this work, go on, go watch a movie. what happens what happens is we train our kids' brains to think that when something's hard, they should stop and they should quit. And as a mom of 6, and now they're ages 8 to 22, big age span, I have so many stories like that of children struggling, maybe becoming kind of apathetic. That's this kind of struggle they have with schools, or kind of becoming worn out, apathetic, they don't want to do it. That's another kind of struggle. And it's, in their mind, they know they should be doing the schoolwork and they don't want to. They're just tired. They would rather do other things. And so then I think as a parent, the other kind of way we might try to stop the struggle is to, uh, take care of the work for them, or talk to the teacher, try to get them excuses and exemptions, and or to continue to like nag and push and like try to get them to do the work so that they don't fail. And I've been there too. I've done all the things at some point with one of my precious children. I've done all of the things. Um, and so there's a point where, as a parent, we do our kids a great favor by not trying to rescue them and get rid of the struggle. Like, forget it, cancel it, never mind, you don't have to do this hard task, or I'm going to keep pushing you, pushing you, pushing you till you do it. It's kind of a different side of actually a similar coin, where they need to find out. They need to find out what the consequences are of either becoming apathetic and failing at school. I've got to let them experience that. There's the other side, where they have a task and they want to quit and give up. And then you just say, oh, you're right, you should quit. And you roll over and let them do that. And then they don't learn how to persevere. Everyone's going to have a point in a goal, in an assignment, in a task, where the brain starts to say, Mayday, this is taking longer, this is taking energy, this is not pleasant, this is hard for me, and therefore we should quit. Your survival center in your brain, the lower part of your brain, is looking for pleasure, wanting to avoid pain, and wanting to conserve energy. Those are the 3 kind of basic survival mechanisms of your brain. And so if something feels like it's challenging or threatening one of those safety mechanisms, then your nervous system goes into fight, flight, freeze, right? Sympathetic nervous system. And your body is looking for ways to protect you, because your brain has designated this as a threat to your well-being. So my child, you got to think about this. When I do this thought cycle diagram in this podcast, I'll show you how your brain might be working, where you have a circumstance, you have a thought about it, which creates a feeling in your body, which then fuels your action, which then creates a result in your life, which then reinforces the thought, and you just keep going around and around. Your children have a thought cycle as well. They have the same cognitive behavioral process that you do, only their brain, their executive functioning part of the brain, where all the logic and reasoning is taking place, is not nearly as developed as yours, depending on their age. So if your child is 25 or 26, yep, this is about as fully developed. However, they might still not have the same skills and experiences that you have. So you still can't expect them to be as mature and responsible as you are, because you're twice their age. They're not there. They haven't had the life experiences yet that you have. And when they're younger, so every age, all the years younger than that, this part of the brain is still developing. they're not able to step back and take a bigger perspective and say, oh, this really isn't such a bad thing. I can handle it. I just need to keep going. This isn't that bad. My arms are tired, but they're not going to fall off my body. And it's not as doom and gloom and hyperbolic as my primitive brain is saying it is. So, this is a part of the brain that is so powerful that we as adults can learn how to utilize in greater capacity. Where younger kids, we've got to be patient with them because they don't have that capacity. They literally, biologically, cannot think and reason like an adult. However, if we don't rescue them from a struggle right away, or even after a little bit of time and you're getting tired of the moaning and groaning, if we don't rescue them, they will have to learn how to push through that painful barrier and discover on the other side there's resilience. They have the capacity to keep going, and they'll find out about that. They'll discover that resilience and create it and build it and nurture it when they're not rescued from a struggle too quickly. So, as parents, we do our children a great service by giving them a task that is a little bit too big. Now, I wouldn't give my 8-year-old the task of moving those big, heavy logs. His body is physically not strong enough to do it, though he may have devised some sort of method. Maybe he would have thought of, dragging them or rolling them. So, yeah, there's a way to make that work too. He was at school, his school wasn't out. So, I gave that task to the older brother. But think about that. When we are at that point, do I quit? My body and my brain are saying, quit. This is hard. I don't want to do it anymore. It's too hard. It's too much. It's too painful. It takes too much energy. It's too unpleasant. That's when the brain is saying, stop. I'm trying to protect us. Let's stop now. But if they can learn how to push past that and keep persevering and going forward and keep doing the task all the way to completion, then they can push back that barrier a little bit further and a little bit further. They realize that their capacity is far greater than what they had originally thought. And so every time we allow them that struggle, we give them that task that's a little bit too big, then they learn how to work through that. They get creative. And I noticed my son, as he's trying to do the dishes with me, his arms are getting tired. Well, then he kind of leaned down, so his arms were on the counter, and he kept on going until it was done. But he knew that I was going to expect him to keep going, so he didn't even stop and give up and walk away, which I thought was pretty impressive. But that's because there's consistency in the approach that I try to do with my kids. I'm not perfect. There definitely are times where I'm like, fine, I'll just do it because we're in a hurry or I'm depleted, right? I don't feel like I have the patience right then to keep drawing this out. Or I join in and we do it together, which is great too. Teaching them a skill, connecting, helping them see it through. Okay, that's pretty good. But I'm not going to do it for them, and I'm not going to let them off the hook, right? They've got to complete that task. And the more consistent you are with your expectations when there is an assignment for them that's a little bit too hard, that's okay. And the things that we can say and the way that we respond to them can inspire that feeling of capacity. Capacity is a powerful concept because we can feel like I'm just this little light. I can't do it. I'm not going to be bold enough, bright enough, strong enough. But when we realize our capacity is far greater to be a roaring bonfire, not just a little candle, but we've got to work towards that. But that's our capacity. We're going to learn and grow and stretch into that. Then anything that feels too hard doesn't make us stop. It doesn't give us a stop sign. We just think, okay, I'm just going to have to keep going. This is hard, but I'm going to keep going and find a way to maybe make it a little more manageable or to be more efficient or to be kind of smarter. Work smarter, not harder, right? Those are good life skills that will help your kids all the way through the rest of their life. It doesn't suddenly get easier when your brain is fully developed. You have more responsibility and new responsibility, and it just keeps on building, doesn't it? So for adults, this can be a lesson for ourselves too. So when things are hard for us, we don't quit. Keep on going, we push through. And our children learn that. There's a struggle, it's hard, but I'm gonna keep going. So I want to show on here what it looks like for a child and what I was hearing with my own child yesterday. And let's go with my 8-year-old who had to do the dishes. Why do I use dishes as an example so often? I don't know. So much of my life is doing dishes, I guess, because my dishwasher's broken. But also have a bigger family, so we do have a lot of dishes. Okay, so let me say that this is from Henry's perspective. Okay, so Henry is my 8-year-old. Because your child is going to have his own experience or her own experience. And validating their experience is also part of helping them build that resilience. We don't want to shut them down and say, stop it. No, you don't feel that way. No, you don't really hurt. No, it's not hard. We want to acknowledge it. This is hard. This is a lot of dishes, isn't it? And then laugh about it. Like, how funny. We have this huge stack. But look how fast we're going. We're getting it done. So we can be cheerleaders, cheering them on. We don't need to take it away from them. We also don't need to shame them when they express that this is a challenging task. Okay, so we're going to look at Henry's model. Okay, so Henry was asked to rinse the dishes. We're doing this task together. And he was thinking, at first he was excited, but then as he got more tired, this is how his thinking went. This is too hard. My arms hurt. Okay, so he's thinking that this is too hard. My arms hurt. So then he's going to have a physical experience. Yeah, for one thing, yeah, his arms are being used. His muscles are being tried. They're being used in a way that he doesn't do every single day or multiple times a day. So this is hard. Yeah, he's literally building muscle right now. But as he thinks this, then he starts to get frustrated. And I would say discouraged. When a child is feeling discouraged, they want to quit. Okay, so then his action was complain. Try to get my sympathy. I'm probably hoping that I would say, oh, sure, this is so hard for you. Okay. Go lie on the couch and read Calvin and Hobbes, which is our current trend right now. Everybody's reading Calvin and Hobbes. So fun. Okay, so he's trying to get mom's sympathy. And so the result is that he is unhappy with the task. Okay, and he wants to quit. That's the result. So how interesting if I at this point said, you're right, you should quit, this is too hard. And this really is a reasonable task. And again, I want you to be reasonable about what you're asking of your kids. But in this case, this was pretty reasonable. He's 8, he's strong, he's healthy. It is a big stack of dishes, but as I know, he can do it and it's not going to harm him. Okay, so he wants to quit. And if at that point, if I let him quit, it would have reinforced this task is too hard, it hurts my arms, and I shouldn't do it. And so the next time I invite him to do the task, he would say, I have evidence and proof. He probably wouldn't say it that way, but he'd say, it hurts my arms. I don't want to do that. right? It hurts too much. It's too hard. So I got let him get out of it. He's going to keep trying to get out of it. All right? So when we don't let our child jump ship too fast, okay? Let's erase. This is the fun thing about this model. For one thing, it's on whiteboard material, which is super fun and awesome. But also because we find out that our circumstances are neutral. The circumstance is not going to change before I feel better and feel different. I can change the way I feel and think about something before the circumstance changes. I don't have to have it all cleared up and pretty and be resolved before I can change how I feel about myself and my capacity. So again, thinking about capacity, that struggle, there's a pressure, there's a push against what has already been your capacity, pushing you into a new capacity. So yeah, there's some pain there. There's something new and unfamiliar. You don't have the neural pathways maybe that can really reinforce that this is something that I don't have to feel threatened by. But now Henry helped rinse the dishes. I didn't let him off the hook. So now he's going to think, I'm proud of myself. And this is what he was saying when we were done. He's like, just kind of like jumped away. He was happy. He felt fulfilled. So we're going to plug this in and see how this looks. So now he's not being let off the hook, right? So as he continues and we're finishing the task, he starts to think, I'm capable. And maybe not in those words. Maybe he's thinking more like, I can do hard things. Like this big stack of dishes. I can do hard things. And if he's thinking that about himself, let me move this a little bit. If he's thinking that, I can do hard things, then he feels confident about himself. He'll have greater resilience, right? And I don't know if that's that's not really an emotion. It's more of an emotional experience or state. But he's going to feel more confident. He's going to become more resilient. And actually, I think I'd rather put that not as an emotion. Let's put that as a result. But he's going to feel more confident and determined to see a task through. He's going to feel determined. Okay. And so his action then is to cooperate. And for parents, cooperation is worth its weight in gold. We would love for our children to always cooperate, wouldn't we? But then we don't experience struggle and then we don't grow. Okay, so there's got to be an allowance for children not cooperating, and not that we give them a pass, but that we realize they're children. They're likely to not want to cooperate. They're likely not going to want to do something, but how I respond to it is going to help me grow as a parent as well. So I can learn from my child's behavior and he can learn from his. So he's going to cooperate more. He's going to do what he's asked to do, right? Because he knows I can do hard things. He might not like it still. He might still not like that he's going to have to do it, but he's going to believe and know that he can, that he has that capacity to do it. And he's much more likely to cooperate with other tasks as well. So then the result is greater resilience, pride in himself. And this is not the arrogance that compares with other people, but the pride of just like knowing that you have accomplished something and it feels good. There's a satisfaction, right? That's what that is. There's satisfaction after doing a hard task. And so because he's experiencing this, then the next time he has a task that might be hard, like putting his laundry away instead of stuffing it in the closet where I might not see it till some other day. But yeah, so he's going to learn that he has that capacity and he can do it. Um, so I want to talk about one other aspect. When we're not happy with our child um, experiencing struggle, okay? Because sometimes we can feel frustrated that our child is disappointed, that they have struggled and maybe failed at something. And then I think we as parents can run into the trap of letting it reflect on ourselves. And this is the example I want to share that will help illustrate. Um, uh, and maybe I've shared this before in a different episode, but when my youngest was 6, he was in a basketball league here with the city. He was on a team and they won and they won and they won. And my son was just kind of running around the court. If he ever touched the basketball, he didn't really know what to do with it. So, but um, but his team kept winning and it was great. He just felt like he was the best player and should be in the NBA next year because his team kept winning. But I felt so sad that after a game, we walked out the door, and outside the rec center was a little boy from the other team crying. He was just so sad that his team had lost, and he was crying. And his mother, started yelling at him for being upset. She was like laying into him. You don't need to cry. Stop crying. Sometimes we lose. Get over it. That kind of stuff. What are you doing crying? And did that help the son feel better? That he learned from his struggle by being yelled at. He learned that he probably shouldn't show his emotions. He was probably learning that he should feel shame about his emotions and that some are good and some are bad and some are okay to show and some are not okay to show. We as parents have to be so careful that yes, our kids are going to complain. The struggle is real, and that's no joke. Literally, the struggle is real. Let them own that. I didn't tell my son, stop crying, your arms don't hurt, get over it. I didn't say that. In the past, yeah, I've made mistakes. I've said things like that, like, it's fine, get over it, just keep going, whatever. But when we take the time to acknowledge it, say, oh, your arms are hurting, mine are getting tired too, and then try to make it a game, keep it upbeat. Keep on going, you're doing great. Then he knows it's okay to be in pain and to express it. My arms hurt. Sure, his arms hurt. He's having to hold his hands up higher than I am. I'm much taller, so it's down low and my arms are down. For him, yeah, this is harder work. He's using shoulder muscles, whatever. But think about it from their perspective. Look at their struggle from their perspective. Notice it, honor it, acknowledge it. And yeah, I think I could have done a little better with my 13-year-old when he was like, I think I'm gonna need some help. I'm like, yeah, okay. um, and he finally just kind of went back outside. So there's a balance. That's a skill. It's one that I'm really trying to get better at because I have made so many mistakes in the past. All my 22 years of raising children, definitely have made some mistakes. Just not being patient with them or not really validating what they're feeling, being more concerned about how other people are perceiving me through my child's behavior or just me focusing on how I feel versus how they feel. Um, yeah, I've done that. And so, as I'm trying to actively study more about the brain, the nervous system, parenting skills, parenting techniques, ways to validate, ways to teach a child it so that they believe in themselves instead of feel bad about themselves. It is helping me to be a better mom. So I'm glad you're here. Thank you for joining. My name is Michelle Cox. I'm a certified life coach for kids, a mother of six, and always trying to see how I can improve my relationship with my kids because those relationships are so valuable. I love my children so much and I want them to thrive. I want them to feel hope. I want them to feel that they do have that capacity, that they can grow into every challenge and struggle that they have. That's what I want for them. And so I've got to be actively aware of how I'm talking to them and how I'm responding to them. And it's tough. Every age has some different challenge that you didn't have last year. Here comes a new one. Or you do have the same challenge and it's still ongoing, and that can make it hard too. That's a different kind of challenge, a different kind of struggle. And so, but learn to understand that their struggle is going to help them learn when they have a supportive environment. So let's create that supportive environment where people are allowed to say something is hard, but you also don't let them off the hook too quickly and allow them that struggle. So they have to push and they have to grow and grasp and want it. They have to want to succeed and want to complete the task. And that's going to build some powerful character in them. So give your kids tasks, give them chores. Don't let them turn the TV on or get on phones or devices until they've accomplished some tasks for you. They've got to learn, they've got to stretch and grow. Um, so I want to also encourage you to think about how you can support um, your spouse. So, because as spouses, you're going to have different ideas of how to handle your children and how to handle their expression of struggle. So, be in partnership. Take the time to say, hey, let's conference about this. Let's decide how do we want to how do we want to respond to this? How do we want our child to feel and think and behave, and how are we going to influence that? So let's have a chat. Let's have a couples conference, or however you want to call it, a council. Be on board with each other. Be on the same page. And children thrive and they benefit so much from having both parents on the same page. So taking time to calmly discuss things together is a powerful thing that will bless your child and help to create more harmony in the home. So if you're needing help with any of that, reach out to me. You can find me at michellecoxmindset.com. You can email me, michellecox.mindset@gmail.com. And so I work with parents, I work with adults, I work with kids. My youngest client, 6 years old, my oldest, 75. So I work with everybody who's needing some help. And this diagram that you just watched a demonstration of really helps to put the pieces in a visual format. And it's really powerful and it's really exciting. So if you're needing some help with that, reach out to me and I'd love to see what I can do to help you out. But thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.